This is the Nerdball Podcast with Lorenzo Melchor.
Thank you, everyone, for downloading this episode of the Nerdball Podcast. I am your host, Lorenzo. Has been a few weeks since I put a podcast out. A lot of stuff's been happening. Pretty busy, as we'll talk about here in a little bit. But as always, thanks to all of you for always listening, sharing, downloading, subscribing to the podcast, reaching out when episodes haven't been uploaded, just being involved. It's good to be wanted, even when that want is, hey, how come there's no episode out? So thank you for that. I'm just looking right now to see when the last one actually put the last one up. Last one was June 20th. So a few weeks now. That's all right. Actually, that week, well, before we get into everything, again, thanks to all of you. Find the Nerdball Podcast on any social media. Just search the Nerdball Podcast. If you want to email, it's the nerdballpodcast@gmail.com. If you know a guest or someone who would like to be on the podcast, please reach out through email or any social medias. So so thank you as always. But the week that the last episode went out, June 20th, there was actually my guys' trip. And I know I've talked about it on here before, but it's a high school, just a bunch of friends from high school. It's our second time we went. The first time we went, we were in Austin, Texas. That was in 2022. This one was we're going to try to do it every 2 years. So obviously 2022, that 2 years there is 2024. So we went to San Diego. And let me tell you, I think this was the third time I've been to San Diego, maybe fourth time. I can't remember. My friend George lives out there. So I visited him a couple times, did his wedding, officiated his wedding. So I went out there. And then this time was on a guy's trip. And it was awesome. So first of all, I got to experience when I flew out on Delta. And I got to experience the Delta Lounge, which I never have done that before. And that was thanks to my friend Scott. He is a member, I guess, of this Delta Lounge. It was awesome. So we got there. If you've ever been into it, it's like, it's not a secret. It's there. You can be there if you pay for it, I guess, or if you do go so many miles. I don't know how you get involved in that. Anyway, it was cool. Free food, free drinks, all kinds of stuff. We were there around lunch, so they had sandwiches, they had barbecue chicken, they had some pasta salads and that kind of stuff. They had nice, comfortable seating while you're waiting for your plane to take off. It was a good time. Also, when I booked my flight, I booked an aisle seat, because if I'm going to fly, I'm only going to fly an aisle. I am not going to do anything else. So I did that. But then when I looked, like 3 days before I flew out, they had changed my seat. And I had all that was left were middle seats. And I am a big guy. Just for my comfort and other people's comfort, I don't think it would be very smart for me to sit in a middle seat. So I did not do that. So I got myself an upgrade and got the Comfort Plus, which was awesome, and got to enjoy that. I did sit down. And had a mild freak out. I already don't like flying that much, but I had a mild freak out because there was no TV in front of me. And I'm like, cool, I got to fly all the way across the country with no television, no movies to watch. And but I was able, I went, before we took off, I was on Reddit of all places, and they told me it's in the, there was already posts about it. It was just underneath the armrest. So I had to fold that puppy out and watch a movie. I don't even remember what I watched on the way down there. So anyway, flight was fine. Cool flying in. There were some cool pictures I took of in the airplane, opening the window. I don't know how you guys feel, but I never open the window. I will peek out every once in a while, but I just would rather not see my death if it were to happen. I don't know. I don't know if it's an irrational fear. I just don't open it. And I will, as we're getting closer to a place, open it just to see the bird's eye view of things. So that was cool. When we got in, we were me and my friend Scott were the last two to get in. There was only 5 of us that went this time, so we got picked up by the rest of the group and went immediately to our house. And when I say this house was awesome, I'm sure if you're my friends, you've seen pictures by now. This house is incredible. We were on the beach. We were basically on a peninsula. We were on a bay. Is like we open our back door, and there's the beach in the bay. And then on the other side, of this little peninsula, we it was the ocean. It was about a 1 minute walk to the ocean across the street. So it was an awesome place. Um, we got there. I think we went for a walk down the boardwalk, got some burritos, and walked back. Excuse me. But it was awesome. Then the next day, we spent the day on the beach, as we did all the days. Spent the day on the beach. Played a new game called Cube, Kubb, or Viking chess. It's a really awesome game. It's impossible to explain if you're not. It's like trying to explain euchre to somebody. Like, you can't just explain it. They got to be doing it, and you got to be showing them. So I'm assuming I'm sure at some point I will be buying this game and have it for my backyard. But it's an awesome game. It involves throwing. It's all made out of wood. It involves throwing wooden dolls and wooden rectangles, and there's a king in the middle and a bunch of other stuff. So again, it's a game that you have to like watch a video. You have to be there, like actually participating in it or watching it as someone else is doing it. So we played that quite a bit. Can Jam is always a crowd pleaser, and I tried a paddleboard for the first time. Very difficult. I was able to get on it on my knees, but trying to stand up is another thing. I did it a few times. I was able to stand up, and as each day went along on a vacation, I was able to do it a little more and more. But very difficult. My friends George and Matt were able to get it pretty quickly, and they were out. I stayed close to the shore. If I wanted to fall, I wanted to feel where I was under my feet. So I stayed pretty close to the shore. But they went out there and had at a couple of points. It was very difficult for them to come back in. I think one time they talked about like where they almost just got sucked out. So it being a bay, there was no like waves or anything. It was just how the water was moving. So, but that was fun too. Paddleboarding was pretty fun. One night, I don't know if it was. I think it might have been the first night or maybe second night. We saw dolphins too. It was about 11 o'clock at night. Dolphins came into the bay trying to get fish. That was pretty neat to see. It was night, but the moon was bright enough where you could see them come out of the water. So that was pretty cool. Every morning we were down there, we found a different place. There was places everywhere, different places to walk and get breakfast burritos. So that was awesome with the guys, just to get up, go get breakfast, and start the day with whatever whatever we wanted to. Again, most of the time it was the beach. I did get burned. I haven't been sunburned in about 20 years, so that was cool. Actually, I think my arms are still peeling a tiny bit. So that was real fun. I wasn't the worst though, by far. Our friend Eric was the worst. But everyone, I think three of us had to apply aloe while we were there. But after that first burn, I was fine. I kept to the long sleeves and I was okay. But sleeping, I'll tell you what. Like I said, I hadn't burned in about 20 years, and sleeping with a burn is no joke. I don't know how people can just be burned more than once every 20 years. It's a terrible feeling, and I never want to do it again. So I will make sure to wear sunscreen and to wear long sleeves, which I normally do. Like, if you see me and it's 95 degrees, I'm gonna have a long sleeve shirt on here in Ohio. But I was vacation Lorenzo, and I wanted to have a tank top on, and I didn't want to wear long sleeves, so I didn't, and I burned, of course. So lesson learned. I was trying to think back to our first guy's vacation. It was in Texas, and it was very hot, and I either didn't have a shirt on because I was swimming or had a tank top on, and I didn't burn. But I'm pretty sure I put on sunblock, and I did not do that this time. So now I know. I'm almost 40, and these are the things that I'm learning that I'm sure all of you are well aware. Which I know some of you that are listening have girls that are on the softball team and liberally apply sunscreen to their children all the time, and it's just something that I don't think about doing. So I did not do it. Probably the fact that I was drinking had something to do with that as well. But um, I say probably, but most likely that happened. Uh, we had a lot of good food while we were there. Besides the breakfast burritos, George made us, hamburgers and hot dogs, and we had a traditional cookout barbecue. And then our last evening, right before I go into that, the Friday we were there, second to last evening, we went to San Diego Padres baseball game, and I was gonna get my son. He likes the Padres City Connect uniforms, real bright colors. Super Mexican of him to like to like those jerseys. And I went looking for one. I was trying to find one, and the exact on-field replica jerseys were $500, which I was not going to buy those. But even the other ones that weren't replicas, they were like $200. And I was trying to find a shirtsy. If you guys don't know what a shirtsy is, it's a t-shirt jersey. So it looks like it has the front their logo, on the back their number and their name. So, but they don't sell any shirtsies apparently. So I ended up getting them a hat. The stadium was pretty cool. It was very. I'm used to, like, I went to Progressive Field and it's just like, all right, you start here and you're just gonna walk around the horseshoe and fine. At the Padres, I felt like where we walked in, there was a shop and then a Hall of Fame you walk through, and then you had to go up these stairs and down these couple steps, and then you open up to all this food, and it was a little more difficult getting around. I'm sure if you're from there and go there all the time, you figure it out. But it was a really cool stadium. It was cool to go see. Obviously I'd never been to a Padres game before, so that was cool. And most of the guys went. George stayed, but he uh he stayed mostly because he said he was prepping food for the next day, which he did, and his child and wife, we got to see them for a little bit too, and they hung out for a little bit longer. So, that leads to the last night we were there. Like I said, one of the main reasons George stayed was because he was prepping food because he made our last evening meal, and it was awesome. It was twice baked potatoes, crab cakes, scallops, which is my favorite, homemade stuffing, and we each had our own lobster, which I've eaten lobster before, but I don't think I've ever ate it where I had to like crack everything open. So that was pretty cool, and it was awesome. It was an awesome thing to be able to see him like cook all this food because I like cooking, and I could probably at some point cook the stuff that he cooked, but it was cool to like see him do it and be a part of it and just watch. And I've never killed a lobster before, so he asked if I want to do it, and I did. Most of the time, people just throw them in the boiling water, but I guess you're not supposed to do that anymore. So we uh put a knife through its head. I don't know if that's any better. I guess probably. Um, but we did that. Ate lobster. Each had our own lobster. Had a full belly and hung out. And overall, if I had to compare the two trips, the second trip I think was better location wise because of where we're at, the beach and two beaches, and being able to walk everywhere. The first location was awesome too, and I think what made that vacation a little a little better was because there was 9 people there, and you know it was just cool to have all those friends there. And this one had 5, and we had a couple drop out at the last minute for for reasons that for legit reasons, like no one just be like, hey, I don't want to do it anymore. They wanted to go, but they had other more important things, which is fine. So it was I think they both had their pros and cons, and it was a wonderful time for both. And I look forward to 2026 when we go somewhere on the East Coast is our plan. People always make fun of me when I explain like how we decide what we're doing. The first year we did, it was kind of chaotic. People were sending in, places from all over the country trying to figure out where we're going. And after the first one, I learned like, all right, well, we got to do this in sections. So I split the United States in 3 sections: Central, West, and East, and we just rotate. So we were at Central, first one; West, second one; that's the third one will be at East. That way, it kind of limits what people, send in, and we kind of rein it in a little bit. We have a three person committee, which again people make fun of, but it just made it a little easier to like get things done. And from what I've learned in the first 2 trips is that people just want to go on the trip. Like there's some people that never vote on anything besides saying like, hey, I'll go, just let me know when, and I'm in it, and they don't really care. They just want to go. And some people like have like, oh, this spot is cool, or this spot, that spot's awesome, and they want to be able to vote. So it's open up to everybody. But I think our list is up to 14 people now that I'll email for the next trip. And maybe some point we'll have all 14, maybe not. And this is the year we had 5, and it was awesome. It was equally as awesome as the first one. So great time. Glad I got to spend time with my friends, who, as I go through them, have all very generic names. And I'm sorry, George, Matt, Scott, and Eric. Congratulations! Thanks for going on the guys trip with me. It was a great time, and like I said, can't wait to do it again. Oh, also one thing, I went in the ocean too, just one time. It was frigid. I didn't. I don't. I'm assuming that's how the ocean is all the time, but it was frigid. Waves were pretty big. I was kind of terrified. And then a lifeguard came by and said, "Hey, just so you guys know, there's no one manning this lifeguard by you guys. So just don't go past your chest in the water, please. Also, there's a pretty strong rip current that'll take you out into the ocean if you're not careful." And I definitely felt that, and I was scared too because a couple of days before, I was on TikTok and I saw like a video of a of like what rip currents do, and I felt it, and I'm like, man, this is kind of terrifying. And I felt it for real, and I was like, you know what, I'm good. I'll just go up to my knees and I'll be frozen for a little bit and be on my way. We did see a sunset too. That was a pretty good sunset. Our last day there too. So, like I said, overall, great trip. Can't wait to do it again. What else? Softball's winding up as this episode goes out. Um, by the time this goes out, I think will either be in the championship game or it's the last day of the tournament. So it'll be our last day, and it's been fun season. What I learned with this season, as opposed to any other season, is we just cannot do summer softball anymore. We being, my family. And it's not that Lillian, like, she can do it. It's just really busy. Everyone's real busy. She has a baton that she does year round. As this episode is out, we're probably at a competition somewhere or another practice. That's just how it's just year round. It's all the time. So it's just hard to get to everything. Mateo has baseball. So we decided that we're just going to do fall and spring softball, which is fine. Still enough softball. She can still do her baton and do other things. And, you know, everyone will be good. So I learned that. It is a lot of fun. I think a couple coaches reached out and said how they enjoy my coaching philosophy or style. I don't know what kind of style it is. I just know I want, because because we're 10U. Some girls, most of the girls, this is their first time playing 10U. Like, it's all about learning. We're learning. We're changing positions. We're seeing who does what. We're giving girls chances here and there. And then when it comes to time to tournaments, we have this is who plays where and who sits out, and this is what we do. But for the most part, as bad as it sounds, the regular season, if we don't win those games, we don't win those games, because I want girls to be able to play what they want to play and pitch if they can and catch it, like, just whatever we can in these regular season games. Is it awesome if we win? Yeah, it's awesome, but it's more about learning and everything. And that's what, for me, that's why I like coaching a silver team, because we're not a gold level team. We're silver and we're developing and that kind of stuff. So I enjoy that much better. And it's not for everybody, but hey, if you wanted to go in it and win every game, then you sign up to be the head coach. As most parents and other coaches know, there's no shortage of assistant coaches, and 10U softball is no different. So, but hey, I'll do that. And I have great assistants that help me with all kinds of stuff. When I'm not there at practice or games, I have Mark, Mindy, Dan, Megan in the summer, all in the summer. They're great coaches, and it makes life easier when we got to miss because of Lillian, or because I want to see Mateo's playoff or tournament game, so I can't be at practice. Like, they're all there, and it's awesome. It's awesome to have dependable coaches to pick up slack for you, because everyone's busy, everyone's doing other things. So when you have those people in your life to make something else easier, it makes it, like I said, it just makes it nice, and I feel good, like things are still getting done even though I'm not there. So I had to miss a lot this season, and I feel bad for the assistant coaches, but just the way it is. And like I said, I learned we just cannot do summer softball. With football too. Football's underway here in July with all our 7-on-7s, weightlifting, that kind of stuff. We did a lot of stuff in June. So we are, as of today, I'm recording this on the 7th. As of today, we are a little more than 3 weeks away from starting two-a-days. So right around the corner, and our first game will be here before we know it. So that's a softball update. By the way, I guess I should probably talk about my daughter. She has progressed, and she really enjoys it. And she was a little bummed that she's not going to play summer anymore. But we just told her, like, you just can't make everything. You just can't be everywhere at one time. So it is what it is. But she does enjoy it, and she wants to keep doing it. So we'll do the fall and the spring and call it a season, or call it a year with softball. So speaking of baton, we had a recital, which is pretty cool. It's cool to see, like, the girls and all their hard work. And last year's recital, I think it was the first time they did it, and this is the second time. Definitely a lot more people there, a lot more baton twirlers involved. It was really cool. This is the second time I recorded it, so I am sharpening my video editing skills by recording this recital, and so hopefully, it'll be for sale again, like it was last year. But it was a good time. It was about an hour long. Again, seeing the girls like do their other routines and their team stuff, and it was just a cool event. Also, Mommy Indoor Theater is a really cool venue to have these kind of things, um, and it's not that expensive to rent. So maybe as this podcast grows, we can do a live podcast for the Mommy Indoor Theater at some point. So I think that's it. I'm hoping to have guests back next week. Again, as things wind down here, we're done with baseball, and softball will be done this week as well. Football's ramping up, so we got some things in the works. Again, I always say we, just to make it sound more professional. So, guests should be back at the week after this next week. I guess that's what that's called, next week, and I'm hoping to do. I think I had someone mention, Chelsea mentioned like a five timers club, like SNL. I got to come up with, I don't know, a good name for it. I don't want to call it the five timers club. That's what it is, but I also don't want to steal what SNL is doing. Like I want to have my own thing. So, maybe something would do with nerd ball or nerd out or something with that, but people who've been on five times. So I am going to look into that and seeing what I can do there. So, again, thanks to all of you for always helping out the podcast, listening, sharing, subscribing, downloading. If you want to be on the podcast, email thenerdballpodcast@gmail.com or hit us up on any social medias. And that's it. So I appreciate you all. Guests will be back next week. As always, thanks to Real JP Multimedia, Big Daddy Graphics, Perrysburg Junior High STEM Lab, and Cuttlefish Graphics for always helping out the podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.